Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back. A lot of times we talk about therapy and getting help to move your life forward, try and figure things out. And when we've gotten together with her, she is our Diamond of the Decade. We've dug into a whole bunch of different areas like anxiety, depression, other things that are challenging us. We've never really talked about how to get therapy, how to pick a therapist, kind of the basics. We're going there today. She is behind New Beginnings, a wonderful therapeutic center in Massachusetts, and she's back with us. Sherri and Alexandrovich is on the program. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Very well, very well. And we take it for granted, maybe rhetorical, somebody has made the decision to get therapy. And where are they going to find it? Who do they find? All of that. We just assume, but we're not going to assume anymore.
Sure.
We're going to hold your hand through all of that. So, Sherri Ann, what do you think is the starting point? Somebody has decided, yeah, you know what? I need somebody to talk to.
So the first thing you want to do is you figure out what insurance that you have, because each either clinic or group practice or private practice therapist, everybody accepts different types of insurance. So we're Massachusetts based here, and we accept all of the Mass Health products because we're a predominant Mass Health clinic. So I know that I don't think New York has any sort of Mass Health system, do you guys have like a state insurance that's for?
Not so much. We have the marketplace. I don't know if you have that there where you're lucky. I don't want to get started on that, but the marketplace in many states, I only know about New York. It's elsewhere as well. No matter who you are, you have to go through this central clearinghouse to get insurance, whether the state is providing some credit to you based on your economic situation or not. If you're paying full freight for your insurance, you still have to go through the marketplace.
Oh.
And why is that? My assumption is they take a piece of that no matter what.
Right.
I pay full price for my insurance. I've had to go through the marketplace. I've since gotten a broker and gotten away from that different mode. But yeah, to my knowledge, I don't know if there's a state type insurance.
Okay. So Mass Health has something, Massachusetts has something similar in the sense it's called a Commonwealth Care. And that's available. It sounds like it's almost similar to the marketplace, where it's for people whose their work doesn't offer like a commercial plan.
Sure.
And they work, so they don't qualify for a Mass Health standard. So they go through the connector, and that will give them options that, based on what they make, what their income is, their status, and how much that they would pay for that. So the first thing you need to figure out is, what is your health insurance, and does your particular health insurance cover mental health or behavioral health services? Because not all plans do. So that's really important to call your insurance company, find out, do they offer that? And sometimes it's just an option that people don't know that they just have to choose. Like for here, we have Massachusetts, we have the Mass Health, but that's the umbrella, and there's several tiers under that, which are different types of Mass Health, like MBHP, BMC, Fallon, Commonwealth Care. And those are what cover the behavioral health covered, portion of that. So you have to kind of first find out what your insurance is. And then you can go onto the website of each insurance, like Blue Cross will have a Find Your Provider. And some of the other commercial plans will also have, most of the insurances will have a login. If they don't, call your behavioral health number that's on the back of your card and talk to somebody over at Member Services and find out, get a list emailed to you, or you could Google a list of providers that are in the area. So that's your first step, is figuring out what's your insurance. Second step is, do you have behavioral health insurance? Third step is from there, which providers are covered for your insurance? So even us here at New Beginnings, I don't accept all of the insurance plans. I accept all of the Mass Health because that's, predominantly what we service, and that's by design, is that's the type of agency that I wanted to create. But for our group practice side of things, it's a commercial insurance. But we only accept Blue Cross and Tufts, not all of the different commercial insurances. And that's because you just can't service all those people. So for me to panel every insurance, I would be flooded with referrals that we just don't have the number of providers to handle. So figuring out a list of agencies or private practices or group practices that take your insurance. And then you're going to want to call and put your name on a wait list. A lot of the insurance companies will give you a list of a number of different people to call. My advice would be to call all of them.
Mm,
I don't know what it's like in different states. I know in Massachusetts, everywhere has like a 3 to 6 month wait. We're flooded here. I know a lot of the other agencies, especially for kids. And the
yeah.
reason that that's more challenging is number one, they're in school during the day. And so they need to be seen at night. There's only so many hours after school that kids can be seen before it's too late. And so
Wow.
that poses a challenge. At New Beginnings, we have school-based contracts. So we're in 4 different towns. So my clinicians will, we facilitate a contract with the school itself, and then we can go in during the day and we can do the therapy, the school-based therapy at the school itself. Not all of the schools allow you to come in. So if you're looking for services for your kid, I would ask your school, do they allow therapists to come in, or do they have an agency that comes in and services the school so that your kiddo can get on that list to be able to be serviced? Not a lot of people work weekends, so sometimes that's really hard to find that. And then, in the summertime, that becomes challenging when the kids get out of school. My therapist, the way that they found to do it is they do home-based because they're already in the town, so they just go to the homes themselves. That's an option that's up to them. We have office space here, so but sometimes transportation's an issue. So that can become kind of problematic for families as well. For the older teens and adults, Zoom's available, for those who have, transportation problems. And in Massachusetts, we offer the Massachusetts Mass Health offers something called a PT1. So you can apply and your insurance company will pay for transportation to and from your appointments. Therapy and med management's included in that for Massachusetts. So there's something that's another option, for the
Wow.
Massachusetts folks.
These are things that the rest of us don't think of. I've
Right.
heard after COVID that it is tough getting an appointment. I didn't know it was still that situation. And then you broke it down more so with therapy for children. And I never even thought of all those reasons, the scheduling, the school, and all of that. Do you feel it's important if it's a child doing therapy that it's in person?
Personally speaking, yes, I feel like in-person therapy is much more effective. That the rule at New Beginnings, I do not allow anyone under the age of 12 to do Zoom. I just, we did it during COVID, and my staff did an absolutely amazing job at engaging all of our youth and our families during COVID. And we got super creative with the different softwares that we were using and ways to reach them. But it's challenging. I mean, you think about a 6, 7, 8-year-old and their ability to stay focused or sit still, or, what the majority of what we do is play therapy.
Hmm.
And it's really difficult to do that, or more challenging to do that via Zoom. Their attention is just not, especially
Yep.
the kids with ADHD or anxiety, and they can't sit still. So you want to be activating them in some way, going outside, taking them for a walk, playing basketball with them. A lot of our staff here will do, we do passes for like our mentors. So we have YMCA passes that I pay for every year for all of my mentors, so they can take the kids out to the YMCA and, engage them out in different community activities to be able to just to get them involved with socialization and, using the skills that they're learning in the therapy room out into the community. So we kind of couch that, couple it all together with the therapy and the mentoring out in the community, the therapy in the office. And a lot of our skill building is really just done through play or through art therapy or through music therapy and getting their bodies moving.
Thank you for saying that. That's another thing that many people don't consider. There's art therapy, there's drama therapy, there's performance, all different things that can be done where you might be thinking, oh, my kid's not going to stand there and talk to a therapist, but blend it over to art. And I don't even know they're getting therapy in some ways, but they're expressing themselves. There's discussion and all of that. Do you, with your practice, do you offer those different types?
Oh, all of it, absolutely. So we
Wow.
have an extremely eclectic um, philosophy here at New Beginnings. I don't believe in cookie cutter models. I mean, we are trained in all of the different modalities, but it's all individualized. So it's really just depending on who's coming in and what their needs are, the age of the child, the gender of the child, the level of trauma that they've experienced, or ADHD kids. So it really just kind of depends. So what we do is we have weekly meetings and we kind of just talk about and brainstorm what are some different things that work, what are some different things that have been helpful. All of my staff here get $50 a month stipend to be able to buy supplies and games or whatever it is that they want to do with their kiddos. And then we either give them the money up front or they give us the receipt and we Venmo them, just so that they always have anything that's available that they might need to be able to engage our youth, because every kid is different. And we buy different games and things like that to be able to teach them the skills. And I know sometimes parents will think, oh, well, my kid just went and played chess for 45 minutes or an hour, and what did they gain from that? Well, I have my chessboard in the back, and I'll tell you, I cannot even like explain the amount of sessions we have played chess,
Wow.
because what you're teaching these kids is strategy, stopping and thinking, the pause. Oh my goodness, right? The pause is so important to teach, not just kids, but adults as well, right? Stop, think, evaluate, and then strategize. Well, that's what chess teaches you. If you think about the game of, I don't know if you play chess or not, but what an absolutely amazing game to play, especially with the ADHD kids who really struggle with step 1, 2, and 3, because with chess, you have to be 5 steps ahead, or you're just not going to get, you're going to lose the game. So that's just how it works. And I mean, I learned how to play chess. Some of my teenage boys years, 15, 20 years ago taught me in session. And I
Wow.
think it's such a, yeah, it's an amazing strategy to use. Uno, you wouldn't think, oh, my kid played Uno for an hour, but you know what you can do with Uno? Every time a red card comes up, you have to talk about something that makes you sad. Every time a green card comes up, you talk about something that makes you happy. You can get so creative. I worked a lot with Asperger kids and autistic kids for a long, long time, and I would use Uno for eye contact and just being able to, so every time a certain color would come up, you'd have to look me in the eye, and then you'd have to ask me a question, or I'd have to ask you a question. So you can get really creative. So parents might think, oh, play therapy, my kid's just going and playing, but they're not just playing. What we're doing is we're getting underneath the play, and we're really, getting them to talk, because kids just don't sit and talk. They talk
Wow.
if they're busy. They talk if they're doing clay. Play-Doh. Love Play-Doh. I mean, I had a family who was displaced, and I saw the two siblings separately, and we would work on a Play-Doh farm. And each week we'd build a new character with the Play-Doh. And, we kind of built this big farm, but each animal represented a new coping skill or a new therapy topic, that's something that was upsetting them. And then at the end of their journey, they would bring it home, and they would have that to, remember that the horse meant this, or the dog meant that, or we're also teaching them that we can stand behind what we say. So when you're playing with the Play-Doh and you're working with kiddos, I guess get super animated, because I just like love that kind of stuff. But, and you're working with them, and you're saying, oh, I bet I could make a horse. And they're like, oh, I don't think you can make a horse. So even just something as simplistic as that, and then you make the horse, you're showing them that you stand by what you say. You're building a therapeutic relationship. You're building trust without saying the words. You're teaching them that what you say means something and you're going to follow through with it. And so each week you're building upon whatever exercise that you're doing with the Play-Doh to help them build whatever infrastructure that you're doing. And they have books on it called Clay Therapy. Like there's all kinds of really neat stuff that you can do with Play-Doh, and the kids' hands are busy. So I've done some flash sessions with kids doing clay because they're busy. And with the flash modality, you're concentrating on a positive image. You've got the negative thing in the back. You're flashing through it by, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, flash, 6, 7, 8, 9, flash. But with clay, the kids are playing with the clay and you're counting and they're blinking, but they're still processing in the background, but they don't even really realize it. It's like an inward processing. So there's so much that you can do with games and art. And Simon Says, so you're teaching them stop, think, pause, wait for direction.
Wow.
Little stuff like that. I mean, I did anger management with when I was doing my internship years ago at a high school, and we were doing anger management and anti-bullying, and I had the hockey team, and so all the boys on the hockey team were like, we don't believe in this stuff. So I was given some different techniques, and they were giving me the pushback, and we were kind of bantering back and forth. And I said, "Oh, okay, I'll tell you what. You try this technique of counting backwards by 3 the next time that you get angry. And if by the time you get to 70, you have not reset yourself, you guys come back and you tell me next week, and I'll do what, like, we would come up with something, right? I wasn't going to cut my hair or diet or anything crazy like that. But, so, and I put the challenge out there. Do you know that not one of those boys could come back and tell me that it didn't work? Not one. Crazy, right? And it started off as a challenge, as a game where they were like, that's not going to work, but there was no pressure. They weren't being forced into it.
Right.
They were being challenged. And so it's really just about altering your words. And I think we went totally off topic, which I'm so
No, but this is great. Like I've never even realized, for those that don't know, you're playing a game of Uno. Like, how is that real? Come on, Sherri, and my kid needs help.
Yeah.
But looking at the colors forces them, they're playing the game, but they're also being forced, if you will, to do something, make eye contact, whatever it might be.
Right.
Let's pivot over to adults and
Okay.
how to pick a therapist. Of course you make the phone calls and on and on and on. How do you make the decision of this one is or could be right for me?
I would say you want to go by gender, right? So there are some males or females that have had sexual abuse histories. So they're not going to want to go with the same sex as whoever their perpetrator was. Or whatever their trauma is, they may be particular about what gender therapist. So that would be your first step is,
Okay.
are you wanting a male or a female? And that kind of narrows down your pool pretty drastically. And these are the questions that my intake department asks, and our referral will ask you. You do have a gender preference. Do you want in-person or Zoom? And that's important because that also is going to, differentiate the list that you're pulling from, because some therapists don't do in-person, they only do Zoom. And some, most of the in-person therapists will do a hybrid of both, but my Zoom therapists do not do in-person. I have 3 of them specifically that just do Zoom, and that's it. So that would be the second question. And then, it's okay to have a conversation with your therapist and just ask the question, see how comfortable you feel. Is it something that, some therapists will have a profile on, like, Psychology Today. That's another great resource to go to. And they will give you providers by state. And that's a magazine that comes out monthly. And that has, pictures. And sometimes you can read their bios and find out what they're all about. On our website, my supervisors are listed, and all of our, experiences are there that you can read up on. I mean, I can't list all of my providers. There's 48 of us, but you could always just ask, I'm looking for someone who specializes more in, anxiety or eating disorders. That's another real niche that is important.
Mm,
Looking for eating disorders. I don't have anybody here at New Beginnings that is an eating disorder specialist. So those are important things that you want to ask when you're putting in your referral or, you're having your intake, because you want to make sure that that person, there are certain things that are niches that, take a little bit of more specialized training. Addiction, that's another one.
wow.
So you want somebody that has, specialty in either dual diagnosis or in addiction itself.
Do you feel, Sherry Ann, you find a therapist, you went through everything, you got to this point, you have somebody, you had a conversation with them. Is it one of those, when you know, or
I think so.
I think
I
so
think
too,
so.
but I figured I'd throw it out there. Like
Yeah,
you
and
pick up
you
on
know
it.
what? We have like really open conversations during meetings and supervisions here about not every client is a good fit for every therapist. And so when we're doing our intakes, we're having those really fluid conversations with our clients that, you know, if this doesn't work, it's okay. I'm not offended. Nobody's going to be upset about this. You have to feel. So I would rather have you say to me, I'd prefer a younger person. I'd prefer an older person. I'd prefer a female. I'd prefer a male, and get what you need than come to therapy and not get what you need, have a bad experience, quit therapy, and then never come back.
Yeah.
So I would rather that have those like really hard conversations with our clients up front. And we have them with our clinicians here. Don't be offended. Everybody's technique, everybody's therapeutic style is different. And that's like when we do our onboarding here and we have our clinicians shadow, I have 4 or 5 different clinicians that I have shadow because I know they all have different therapeutic styles. So it's important when we're having our interns learn and grow and shadow that they can see kind of what therapeutic style works for them. Because some of us have been in the field for decades. We have different styles.
And it's a relationship. I'm getting flashes in my mind of somebody I use for therapy. Wow, like 2012, 13, and re-engage the same person. I want to say like maybe 3 years ago. And I tried it. It just wasn't the same. I feel that, this person, they were a little bit older, and I feel that they just were kind of aging out. And
Mhm.
was it, instead of focusing on my feelings, they worried more about logistics of a situation.
Okay.
And, they would ask, well, how's it doing? That situation there. Oh, great. Okay. Can we talk about me? That's, my feelings are hurt and I have challenges because of the logistic situation. I just didn't feel like their empathy was there anymore. And I moved on. But when you can feel it.
Absolutely. And I think that one thing I would want all of the listeners to really like hear is that it's okay if you don't click with the first therapist that you come and meet with or
Sure.
you have a conversation with, because this is your personal journey. And if you don't feel comfortable right off the start, you're not going to feel comfortable sharing some of your most, traumatic experiences, because you have to feel that that person that you're sitting across from or is on the other side of the camera is really able to identify with what you're experiencing and be able to give you the skills. There are some therapists who are talk therapies, and that's what they do is they validate your feelings, they talk about your emotions, and then I am a solution focused type of a therapist, so I'm a problem solver. So we will come in and I will talk about what's going on for the week and I'll listen to what you have to say, but you're not going to leave my office or your session with me without an idea, without a coping skill, without something to take away with, because that's super important, right? We're not just friends. We're your therapist. So we need to be able to give you, some perspective taking or give you something to walk away with for you to kind of ponder and kind of chew at
Yeah.
so that next week we can regurgitate it and we can talk about it a little bit more.
See it from a different angle,
Right.
whereby a friend is just going to tell you what you want to hear. We're out of time. This has
Oh
been
my
so
gosh, that went by so fast.
I know. I know. Learned so much. Like the game thing, completely. Not that I had not a good vision of that, when working with kids, but see it now in a whole even better light. Amazing. Sherri Ann, what's the best way for somebody to connect with you, and whether you take their insurance or if they want a private pay? Do you take private pay as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
We do.
How do we find you?
Right on our website, newbeginningswc.com. And we have a referral page there. My supervisors are there. The list of insurances that we take are there. All of the different services are there. We have, like exactly what we offer in Massachusetts for medication management, therapeutic mentoring, school-based, outpatient, in-home therapy. We offer the whole gamut. So everything's listed. All of our information's right on the website.
Thank you for today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was almost one of those things like, should we talk about this? I'm so glad we did.
Yeah, right.
It's so
It's
important.
right? Start with
Yeah.
basics.
Yep. All right. We'll catch up soon. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.